Welcome to the None But Curious podcast. We're all about finding inspiration in life's uncertainties. Whether you're still figuring things out, questioning your beliefs, or just curious about the world, come hang out with us as we celebrate the beauty of not having all the answers. Have you ever paused at the edge of a new project, a new chapter, a blank page, and felt that quiet, almost dizzying question, do I even really know what I'm doing? Across cultures, humans have told stories about the beginnings of the world, stories that are messy, unformed, and wonderfully uncertain. Today, we'll wander through a few of these stories, letting them guide us, not toward answers, but toward curiosity. We'll meet the Rig Veda's cosmic maybe, Hunda's unhurried wholeness, Obatala shaping life with care and a little chaos, and the Dinah worlds that rise, fall, and rise again. These stories don't tell us how it should be. They show us how beginnings are lived, stumbled into, and sometimes beautifully messy. Let's lean into the unknown. So let's begin with one of the oldest recorded creation poems, the Nasadiya Sukta from the Rig Veda. Listen to this translation by A.L. Basham. Then, even nothingness was not, nor existence. There was no air then, nor the heavens beyond it. What covered it? Where was it? In whose keeping was there then cosmic water, in depths unfathomed? Then there was neither death nor immortality, nor was there then the torch of night and day. The one breathed windlessly and self-sustaining. There was that one then, and there was no other. At first there was only darkness wrapped in darkness. All this was only unillumined water. That one which came to be, enclosed in nothing, arose at last, born the power of heat. In the beginning, desire descended on it. That was the primal seed, born of the mind. The sages who have searched their hearts with wisdom know that which is kin to that which is not. And they have stretched their cord across the void and know what was above and what below. Seminal powers made fertile, mighty forces. Below was strength, and over it was impulse. But after all, who knows, and who can say whence it all came and how creation happened? The gods themselves are later than creation, so who knows truly whence it has arisen? Whence all creation had its origin, whether he fashioned it or whether he did not, he who surveys it all from highest heaven, he knows. Or maybe even he does not know. Pause and imagine that even the gods might shrug. Even the universe itself might be a big question mark. So with that, let's reflect a little. Where in your life are you waiting for certainty before taking a first step? How might things change if uncertainty were something you respected instead of resisted? When you're ready, we move to ancient China, to a story that feels almost like a dream. Before the world had edges, before things were named or sorted or improved, there was Hunda. Hunda was not empty. Hunda was full. No sky above, no ground below, no inside or outside, just a vast, living wholeness. Hunda had no eyes to see, no ears to hear, no mouth to speak. Not because something was missing, but because nothing had been separated yet. Hunda lived peacefully in this state, neither striving nor lacking. Nothing needed fixing. One day, two visitors arrived. They ruled other realms, places where things were named and measured, where beings had openings and functions and purpose. They looked at Hunda and felt very uneasy. How strange, they said. So different, so unfinished. And because they believed difference meant deficiency, they decided to help. So each day they carved a hole into Hunda, an eye to see, an ear to hear, a mouth to speak. They worked carefully, with good intentions, and with confidence. And on the seventh day, Hunda died. That's it. The story ends there. So sometimes when we rush to impose clarity, we destroy something that was already whole. And we learn from this story that not everything unformed is broken. So as we leave the story of Hunda, what parts of your life feel unfinished, but not necessarily wrong? Where might you be rushing to make sense of something that needs time? All right. We're now going to travel to West Africa to a story of deliberate creation and humble imperfection. In the beginning, there was only sky above, and below it, water and marshland stretching quietly into the distance. The sky belonged to Olorun, the chief god. Everything beneath, like oceans, depths, and hidden places, was ruled by Olokun. Looking out over this watery world, the god Obatala began to wonder what else might be possible. What if there were land? What if life had a place to rest and grow? He went to Olorun and asked for permission to create dry ground for living beings. Olorun agreed and sent him to seek guidance from Orunmila, the god of wisdom and foresight. Orunmila told Obatala what he would need: a long golden chain, a small shell filled with sand, a white hen, a black cat, and a single palm nut. When everything was ready, Obatala fastened the chain to the sky, placed the bag over his shoulder, and began his careful descent. When the chain ended, the world was still just out of reach. From above, Orunmila called out, "Pour the sand, release the hen." Obatala did as he was told. The hen landed and began to scratch at the sand, spreading it in every direction. Wherever the grains of sand fell, dry land appeared, rising into hills and settling into valleys. Obatala stepped onto one of the hills, and as far as he could see, there was land. He planted the palm nut, and in an instant it grew into a tall tree. The tree dropped more nuts, which grew just as quickly until palms covered the land. Obatala stayed there, keeping company with the black cat, watching the world take shape. But after a long while, loneliness crept in. So, Obatala decided to create beings like himself. He shaped them carefully from the earth. When he grew tired, he rested and drank palm wine to pass the time. Not realizing how much he had consumed, he returned to his work. Some of the forms he shaped were uneven, imperfect. Without knowing this, he asked Olorun to breathe life into them. When Obatala woke the next day and saw what he had done, he was filled with sorrow. He vowed never to drink again, and he promised to care for those born different from the others. From then on, he became known as the guardian of the vulnerable. The people built homes, just as Obatala had, and a thriving city grew. Most of the gods were pleased and visited often, but Olokun was not. She had not been consulted. She felt the loss of her waters deeply. While Obatala was away, Olokun sent great waves across the land. Flood waters rose, covering much of what had been made. Those who survived climbed to the highest ground and pleaded with Ishu, the messenger god, to carry their cries to the sky. When the message finally reached Orunmila, he descended once more and spoke words of power. Slowly, the waters withdrew and the land emerged again. And so, the world continued, changed, yet imperfect. So, maybe your missteps or your mistakes are shaping something meaningful and not ruining it. Where have your messy beginnings surprised you with beauty? And what becomes possible when you release the need to get it right? And finally, when you're ready, we move to the Dina Bahana, the Navajo creation story, with 4 worlds of learning, moving, and trying again. The first world was small and shadowed, surrounded by vast waters. At its center stood a single tree, and around it lived creatures of air, movement, and possibility: ants, beetles, dragonflies, bats. From the wind and breath of the clouds came the first man and the first woman, carrying corn, white and yellow. These were signs of balance and care. When they lit their fires, they noticed one another's light across the dark and chose to come together. This was the first beginning: connection. But even in this early world, things were unsettled. Coyote arrived, curious, restless, sometimes helpful, sometimes disruptive. Jealousy and conflict grew. The world could no longer hold the air spirit people, and so they moved on. In the second world, the beings explored new lands. They sent scouts in all directions and discovered others already living there: birds with bright blue feathers and powerful swallow people. For a time, they lived in harmony. But harmony is delicate. One night, trust was broken and the newcomers were asked to leave. Still learning, they followed the wind upward, seeking the next world. The third world opened before them like a wide golden plain. Rivers crossed each other in the middle, mountains rose, sacred and alive. Here, the holy people appeared, teaching ceremony, prayer, and how to live in balance. First man and first woman were transformed from spirit into human beings through sacred rituals of wind, corn, and feathers. Children were born full grown, some male, some female, some neither, and they learned the ways of the land. Cotton was planted and spun, cloth was woven, life became practical and creative. Yet humans were not perfect. Separation brought hardship. Women and men lived apart, and from those times of imbalance, monsters were born. Fear grew, and once again, life called for courage and guidance. Then came the fourth world, the white world. Rising waters from below reminded everyone of the fragility of life. Using a great reed, the people climbed safely into this new place. At first, even this world was uncertain: an island surrounded by water, high cliffs. Paths were unclear. With help from wind and water, land emerged, and first man and first woman built the first hogan, a home marked by earth, cornmeal, and sacred intention. In this world, the sun and moon were placed in the sky. Stars were arranged with care, yet some scattered, reminding humans that life is a mix of planning and unpredictability. And then Changing Woman was born, a child who would grow and shift, a reminder that life is always moving. She became this living center of renewal, teaching that beginnings are never fixed and that each generation must learn, adapt, and start again. The Navajo creation story doesn't offer a single perfect beginning. It offers many: worlds that rise, fall, and teach, worlds that make room for the next attempt. This story reminds us that beginning only requires courage, care, and the willingness to keep moving together. Not all beginnings come from adding something new, some come from choosing to leave. So, could beginnings sometimes mean leaving rather than fixing? What world might you be ready to step out of, even if it's not broken? What do all these stories teach us across millennia and continents? From the Rig Veda, we learn to shrug and wonder. From Hunda, we notice that rushing to clarify can erase what is already whole. From Obatala, we learned that imperfection hums with possibility, not defeat. And from the Dina, we understand that leaving, adapting, and beginning again are all part of the rhythm of life. Beginnings aren't always about knowing. Often they're about stepping in, paying attention, fumbling a little, and letting the way forward reveal itself. Certainty is definitely not a requirement. It's something we gather as we go, like a lantern that only lights the next few steps. So the next time you feel unsure, remember, these stories show us that the universe has been starting without certainty since the very beginning. And my friend, so can you. Thanks for listening. As always, if you resonate with this episode or like the stories, share them with a friend who might enjoy them. You can always subscribe to None But Curious, visit the website at nonebutcurious.org, or just wait until the next episode comes around in a couple of weeks. Either way, I'm glad you're here, and I look forward to meeting with you again soon.